Everyone. Jai Baba, and welcome to our celebration of Mani Irani, Meher Baba's sister. We're grateful to be here today and thinking of Mani on this day. I know we're a few days behind her birthday, but 3 days before, 3 days after. Sorry about that. Betty, I'm going to ask you to go ahead if you would,
All
please.
right. I'm taking Karen Talbot's spot today. She's often in Mehrabad. So is that right, Ruthie? Yeah, they're in India.
Yes.
So this is Mani's biography that Karen so puts together so well. Mani's middle name is Shariar, named after her dad, Mani Shariar Irani. Was Baba's sister, born December 15th, 1918. Parents Shariar Mundigar Irani and Shireen Dorab Khorram Shahi Irani. Her siblings were Jamshed, Marwan, Meher Baba, Behram, Jal, Adi Jr., and then there were a couple who passed away. Franny passed at 7, a sister, and Shirmood didn't pass away, but I believe that's Shiru. He was born in 1910. And Jahangir was 2 years old, born 1900, died in 1902. Mani passed on August 19th, 1996, and she's buried to the right of Baba's Samadhi, and at her request, her tomb is 3/4 the size of Mara's. She didn't want it to be the full size. I remember that. So Mani was born in Pune. She was the 6th and last child of Shariarji and Shireen Mai. When Shireen was close to giving birth, she and Shariar were sitting together. He was reading to her from the Shamana, which is a Persian epic. He was reading the story of Princess Manija. Shireen went into labor and was rushed to the Sassoon hospital that evening, December 15th, 1918. At that time, Baba was 24 years old, and he cycled to the hospital. He was the first one to hear the news. He was most customarily, a Zoroastrian baby is never handled until it's watched. But Meher Baba hurried to where Mani was, picked her up and kissed her and cuddled her, despite his mother's protests. In later years, when people would tell her how they came to Meher Baba, Mani would smile and say, "I didn't come to Baba, Baba came to me. And I was born with one ambition, to be with Baba." She was the only one who could say she was God's sister. It was all brothers but her. In those days, children even up to 2.5 years slept in cradles that were like small wooden beds. As Mani wrote in the book God Brother, the last thing Marwan did before leaving their house was to rock Mani's cradle, kiss her, and tell her parents, "She's so very fortunate." She first met Mera when she was 5 years old. Meher Baba went to visit Baba House in Pune and brought Mera. Meher Baba gave Mera a toy to give to Mani. Neither could remember the toy, but Mani remembered Mera's beautiful hair. When Mani was 7 years old, what Shireen Mai wrote to her son about his little sister was simply, "Night and day, Mani remembers you." During Mani's school holidays, Shireen would take Mani to visit Meher Baba wherever he was. When Mani was a child, she would beg Meher Baba to turn the key and come daily in her dreams. When Mani was 8 years old, she picked flowers to help Mera make crowns and sandals for Meher Baba. When Mani returned to Pune, she decided to make them on her own. She purchased elastic to make the crown and used cardboard for the sandals. When she presented them to Meher Baba, he wore the tiny crown on his head and the sandals fit on his smallest toes. Becoming a member of the Mandali. The first letter she received from overseas was a letter from Meher Baba in 1932. She carried it around until she came to live with Baba for always by the end of the same year. And this is the letter. Darling Mani, I would feel most pleased if you could stay with Mera and Naja, leading the present pure life and obeying my usual orders. But mother might object and not let you stay away from her. But remember, once you are free from mother, join Mera and stay with her. But you must stay in a way that no big order is broken. You know how dear you are to me and how much I love my darling sister. Be always thinking of me and remember my wishes and big orders. M.S. Irani. The catch was she had to get free of their mother. Mani was rude. I'm sorry, I just lost it. Was rude and disrespectful to her mother. Sorry. But then she would cry and cry privately. This was her strategy, was to be rude so that her mother would send her away. But she really felt sad about behaving like that, I remember. Despite all the difficulties, Baba arranged for Behram's marriage and sent Jal back to be with Shireen Mai. Mani came to live in the ashram with Baba at the end of 1932. She was 13 years old. In Nasik, her constant companionship with Mera for the next 57 years began. Mera trained Mani in Meher Baba's ways. Mera's absorption in Meher Baba while preparing a glass of water for him amazed Mani. For early on, Mani was to always be with Mera, to record her every moment in a diary, to play the sitar when Mera was bathing. When living at Meherabad in the East Room, they occupied their time making gifts for Meher Baba, and they cared for the many animals Meher Baba brought them. Mani picked up Meher Baba's gestures very easily. Meher Baba would work hard. He always wanted something funny. Mera would think up the costumes. Mani would make up skits and plays and funny songs for them. The Blue Bus tours now and moved to Marizad. From December 8, 1938 to December 1942, Mani went on the Blue Bus tours. There were 6 tours with interim periods almost always spent at Meherabad. Mani kept diaries of the Blue Bus tours. In 1944, after all their travels, they began a stay at Marizad. Mani was 25 years old. Mera started her garden as prompted by Baba. All the other women helped her. The women climbed the hills and gathered stones to line the garden. Meher Baba would read books and the newspapers by himself. Then Mani began reading aloud to him. She would use different voices for each of the characters. Mani was one of the 4 women to join Meher Baba on the new life. She was 30 years old. She said in spite of the hardships, she felt incredibly free. After the new life, the women went to the West and stayed in the guest house at the Meher Center. At the time of Baba's first accident in Oklahoma, she suffered whiplash, but she was not as injured as Meher Baba and Mera. Dr. Burleson cared for the injured. She maintained a correspondence with the Burleson family for some time after. She became Meher Baba's scribe to the Western world. After the car accident in Satara, Mani began the family letters. In 1959, they began going to Pune and living at Guru Prasad in the Indian summers. In Meher Baba's later years, they alternated between life at Meherzad and spending the hot summers at Guru Prasad. After 1969 is the next part. Baba asked Mani to look after Mehra if he dropped his body. After Mehra Baba dropped his body in January 1969, she looked after Mehra, welcomed each and every Westerner to the last darshan, and became the first chairperson of the trust. Throughout the years, she gave 100% of herself to each of us who visited Mehrabad and Meherzad. When she passed away on August 19, 1996, blue smoke was seen from her cremation, and all the Christ's cradle flowers bloomed. Two sadhus approached Erich. They asked whose pyre this was. Instead of black smoke of an ordinary person, it was gray-blue smoke of the pyre of a saint. So they came to ask about this great soul and to pay their respects. The sister of Meher Baba, that explains it. What was said about Mani? Julia Burleson said Mani was magical. Naju said she was master of everything. Baba put into her a bit of all the talents of the world. She was loving, she was giving, she was forgiving, she was very humorous, she was very understanding. She was a composer, a poet, and the greatest was an actress. In acting, nobody could supersede her. As Arnavaz said, in the world, she would have been a genius. Baba said to Dr. Murthy, who had a doctorate in philosophy, Deshmukh can put you in his pocket, but Mani can put you both in her pocket. Delia said Baba told them his own sister Mani was a genius and often kept him entertained with her dancing and sketches, which she composed herself. Meher Baba said, I'm always happy when Baba's reading to me because it makes me Baba said, I'm always happy when Mani's reading to me because it makes me feel like I'm watching a play. Books written about Mani are 82 Family Letters, Godbrother, Dreaming of the Beloved, Tales from the New Life. She was the co-author. And Heather Nadell wrote The Joyous Path about Mani's life. And the DVDs that are available are her one about Mani from Wendell Bressman's Witness series. And then I Googled Mani Irani Meher Baba and found 13 DVDs. Most of them are from the LA archives with the circle logo, Meher Baba Library. And then are a couple from Mehrabad. So she's easy to research. And there's plenty said about her. All right, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Betty. Beautiful. Thank you so much. It just brings her close. Beautiful reading. Well, I have a little video that I put together just of some stills of Mani with music in the background. And Betty had mentioned that she really liked this, so I'm glad this is part of this video. Jai Baba.
brother, her master, her Lord, and her King. He and his beloved Mara, her all and everything. Her love is a song for the ages, a servant who chose to be bound, a sparkling star in the heavens above, a most beautiful Julius crown. The brightest star in the heavens, so close to the moon and the sun, a guiding light to the lovers of God, her fate a most fortunate one. Baba had joined her to Mara, by his wish they were never apart. She was the constant companion and friend to the queen of his heart. Her love is a song for the ages, a servant who chose to be bound, a sparkling star in the heavens above, a most beautiful Julius crown. To stay by his side and deserve him, her only wish or desire. Money that's gentle as flowers, her love much fiercer than fire. She always danced to his music, in silence or thundering sound. She danced right into his ocean and drank until she was drowned. Her love is a song for the ages, a servant who chose to be bound, a sparkling star in the heavens above, a most beautiful Julius crown. Her love is a song for the ages, a servant who chose to be bound, a sparkling star in the heavens above, a most beautiful Julius crown. A most beautiful Julius crown.
Sorry. All right. Well, I think all of us are here for a reason. I think we all had some encounter, or a lot of us had encounters with Mani and her incredible service and love for Meher Baba. I don't know if anybody wants to share. I have another small piece that we could show of a video, but it's actually the center's offering for Mani this month. So I don't see any hands up.
Can we play that video, Ruthie?
What, honey?
Could you play the second video?
Well, I wouldn't play all of it because it's over an hour long, but we can play a part of it. Yeah, I'd like to.
Thank you. And nice picture of you with Monty at the train.
Yeah, it's that blue bus.
Yeah.
That's so cute. Adorable.
Yeah, that's the blue bus, and Teresa Curtis is in the window looking out at us. All right, well then we'll just go ahead and share a little bit of Monty so we can all kind of listen to her voice.
Talking of, this morning another thing I thought about. Anytime you want me to stop, please tell me, huh? Oh dear. Yeah.
We can't
Another thing
see
I
in
thought
the
about
video.
this morning. I've
We
told
can
you the
hear.
last joke that was said to Baba and the last cartoon that was shown to Baba. The last
Lucy, we can
song
hear
that was
but not
played to
see.
Baba.
We could hear it but not see it.
Interesting. Okay, all right.
Because I took the gramophone.
Try
I
it
was the
again.
one that played the gramophone for Baba and the radio for Baba. The radio
Hang on one
usually
second,
was Voice
sorry.
of America or the Pakistan Gazette. But in the latter days, Baba had me bring the gramophone into his room and play it.
All right, let's see. We will try it one more time. I'm not sure.
I could see it, and then you shut it off, Ruthie. I don't know.
It was
Okay.
still. It was
It was
still. It
still,
was
it
not
wasn't
moving.
moving.
Mine was not. Mine was fine.
Wow.
That's
Well,
interesting.
Nothing to see. I think it's all here, right? Listening.
Okay. So,
I
all
don't
right.
know.
All right. We'll try one more time and see if we get both. Hang on one second, please.
And I now realize that it was also another message for us. This wasn't a song that has been composed by a great one of the past, either Tukaram or Gnanesh, or one of the perfect masters of the old times. I forget the name.
Can you see now?
But the song was,
Yeah, it's moving. It's okay. Thank you.
Yes, beautiful.
call him with attributes, call him without attributes. With attributes, without attributes is the same. Is the same one, is the same one. With form, call him with form, call him without form. With form and without form is the one God. Seen, call him visible, call him invisible. Visible and invisible are the one God. Saguna manoki nirguna re, saguna nirguna ek govinda re, ek govinda re. Akar manoki nirakar re, akar nirakar ek govinda re, ek govinda re. And it suddenly came to me this morning that that's also a message. Whether I'm seen, whether I'm not seen, whether you can relate to me physically or not, I am the same one. I am the one, without a second. I am with you. And in such little ways sometimes, this is another thing that just comes to mind. You know how we say in Gujarati, a form of addressing, oh Mara Baba, oh my Baba, you know, he's my Baba. Each one with equal right can say, my Baba. And it's a very common way of addressing. We say that all the time. And how often that comes, oh Mara Baba, you know. So then I thought, this morning I was saying that in Baba's room, mind you. It's all right. We used to be all young. So when, you know, getting up and running about, and our movements were quite different. Now, as the years go by the time we get up from where we're sitting down to singing the arti, and then by the time we go up to Baba's bed, and one is holding the bag, if she has a catch in the bag, the other's a bit like that, and when you get your knees, it's such fun watching poor Goher trying to get up, or try sing, you know, trying to get up. So often you hear the, oh, Mara Baba, like that. Now, it reminded me of some very delightful incident that happened when we were in Guru Prasad. When we were in Guru Prasad, Baba wanted a particular singer from Bombay to come and sing before him. And he was a Baba lover, and he had a very good voice, but he didn't have much chance to get that voice recognized or get on the radio or in films like the others did, because he had a habit of drinking. And then, you know, that affected his performance, not so much his performance, but it affected that he wouldn't get there in time, or when they came to hear about it, whatever it was. But he was very, very, very poor, but he loved Baba. So Baba thought of him and said that his name was M, full stop, Y, full stop, Mohan. So Baba said, get M-Y, well, get that singer, you know, to. So of course Arish knows his name. So a telegram was sent to him, to the Bombay Center group head, Sorabji Sikantoria. Will M.Y. Mohan come to give a performance of singing in Guru Prasad Hall? Shoot off, you. Jimmy, shoot that. A knight in armor, you look like it. So, will M.Y. Mohan come? Now that man read this telegram. The telegram was given to him. Sorabji went over to the singer and said, look, this telegram has come. And he read, will my Mohan, M.Y., will my Mohan come and give us a singing performance, a recital before me? And he immediately cabled back, your Mohan is ready to come. And and yet that deep joy of thinking, Baba called him my Mohan. And he came like that. There's another little incident that Timber reminded me, and I asked him to remind me, to tell you all. Because I had this little incident concerning some of the mandali that was narrated by my brother, my youngest brother, Adi Jr. as he was called. And it was a delightful little story, and again a delightful reminder of something that had happened to me, something similar. So he says, and the title is Driving. Adi Jr. writes, somebody has taken down the notes from Adi, and she writes, Adi, that's Baba's brother, was very fond of driving. He was unable to drive during the last 12 years or so of his life and missed it. Once he reminisced about driving in the earlier days with Baba. So this is. Adi said that he got his driving license when he was 15 or 16 and staying with Baba in Nasik. Rustam, that is Mehru's father, Adi Senior's brother, and Mehra's brother-in-law. Rustam had a motor car business there, though it wasn't doing very well, and they were all completely broke at the time. Kaka Baria was a first-class mechanic. You know, Kaka, the one who was in Merazal. And Baba had put him in charge of their cars. Kaka was fond of both Adi and Behram, Baba's other brother. He taught Adi to drive in a big 20-seater bus, and Adi passed his test the first time. Pendu, who was quite a bit older than Adi, asked to learn to drive also, and was taught either by Kaka or Rustam. Then Rustam took him for his test, which was given by the Assistant District Commissioner of Police in a big compound. At the compound, there was a gateway with 2 big pillars on either side. "Reverse," said the commissioner. And Pendu reversed, bang, into one of the pillars. The commissioner blew Rustam up, and Pendu gave up driving for good. Adi really laughed as he told this. Quote, "Pendu knocked the pillar down, flattened it, demolished it. Poor Pendu left the car and ran away. After that, he never touched the wheel of a car again. He threw up his hands and said, 'It's not in my fate.'" Adi also taught Behram how to drive. He tried to teach Jal, but Jal nearly ran some boy down, so Jal gave up. Adi was the only one of the brothers who really drove much. He drove Baba quite often in those days. Padri was a very good driver, but, quote, far too cautious. He was also a born mechanic. Now, talking about, reading about Pendu's reversing, made me remember this story. We were in Ajmer, and Baba said, "Mani is to learn driving." And she used to take Kitty and the others, wherever. Irain was there at the time, too. This was in Ajmer, 40 maybe, 40, 41. So I was taught by Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth took a car to be a person. The respect she had for the car, the detailed knowledge she had of the car, the way she could convey the importance of the different parts of a car was amazing. I mean, before I sat behind the wheel, I knew the mechanic, the body of the car, like it was a person. The liver, the spleen, the kidneys, everything. You know, what happens when you reverse the clutch, or when you put the car in clutch, and first gear, second gear, third gear, what happens? Every little thing, it was so wonderful. But then she had me sit behind the wheel, and she was teaching me. And one thing she found rather strange, that I was very good at going backward. I was much better at reverse than I was going forward. And she said to me once, she said, "Manny, dear," she always called me Manny, like my father did. And she said, "Manny, dear, you'll have to go forward sometime." And I said, yes. So I did go forward. I was good at it, as she told me, but I still was better at going backward. So then, when I learned it, but before I could completely go through my education of driving with her, like signs and things like that, Elizabeth and Norina were sent back to the States for some work. So here I was, ready to have my license, but I had to take my license in a stranger's car, a hired car, a little hired car, which is nothing like Elizabeth's car, which she kept so beautiful. But still, and here was this Indian driver who was very nervous about me for some reason. Although everybody said how good I was, he was nervous. And his Indian accent, you know, so when I would drive, he would say, "Horn, horn," meaning blow the horn. But he said, "Haran, haran," which means a deer. So I said, I would look out for the deer. Where is the deer? I couldn't find the deer. Anyway, the great day came. I had to go and have get my license. And Baba had heard, and everybody knew, that the man, the English, because we were in the this is all during the British Raj. So there's the Englishman there. He was a very tall guy, very strict, very hard. And they said, everybody said, he won't give her a license. He's that hard as nails. Oh, said Baba. So Baba had a cable telegram sent to Ramju, who was in Satara or Nasik somewhere, and said, come quickly, because Ramju was, you know, a car worm, not a bookworm, but a car worm. He knew everything about cars, and he could speak about cars, and he would help. He would be of help. So, but in the meantime, I had to go. My date was fixed. So everybody helped. Elaine, I still remember, she'd knitted mittens out of silk, cream-colored silk thread, you know. So I had those, so the tips of my fingers could still be out. But Mara gave me her best handkerchief. Somebody gave me this, and I was all dressed, and I was looking very presentable. In those days, during the British regime, you really had to look proper. You know, you had to see, and that would help my cause. So even if I didn't do it very well, he might still give me, I don't know. Anyway, I was all ready. Everybody was out, you know, greeting me, well wishes, and sending me off. And Baba's there and says, not to worry. And that, where is Ramju? Why doesn't has Ramju come? Has Ramju come? And I've gone there. Now, this guy is so tall, I had to put my head out of the window and look up to see him. Inflexible face, no smile, no thing. There were no robots in those days. And he said, those two trees at the back there? Quite some distance away, there were two trees, far apart only to allow a car through. Only that. And quite at a distance, he says, reverse, go through those trees, come right back here. How Baba. I zoomed, and before he knew it, I was there. He looked so startled. He was so amazed. They said he makes you go through the paces for endlessly. Not a single other test would he give me. After this performance, I mean, I must be an ace at driving. He just went in, wrote that thing, gave it to me. He still looked surprised, you know. So I said, thank you, sir. And I went home, and I give Baba this telegram, and Baba, you know, so happy I've achieved this for Baba. And Baba takes the telegram, he's so happy. He gives me an embrace. Everybody else, and then somebody brings a thing, says, just to let you know, Baba, Ramju has just arrived. I was so happy he didn't come earlier. I didn't need his help at all, only Baba's help.
So did you ever do any driving?
Oh, I must tell you that, of course. Kitty was very brave. Kitty was my passenger. But there was an ad in the paper. This English lady had advertised her cottage piano for sale. And Baba said, now Mara used to play the piano in school, and Kitty used to teach piano for years, and she got the LRAM and all those highest degrees. So, you know how Baba would do occupation? So Baba said, get that piano. And Elizabeth got it for Mara. So I drove Kitty to the English lady's cottage to see the piano and to bring it home. And I still remember the little cottage had a small gate, just enough for the car to go through, and I whizzed through, not in reverse, forward. I was very proud of it. And then, you know how in those old days, people used to have a lot of knickknacks. You know, every little table was filled with so many little things that if you don't walk carefully, you might, you know. And there was this charming old lady inside, and she welcomed us, and she said, oh, dear. And she asked Kitty about her planes, and yes, she said she used to play so well, but she doesn't play that anymore, and really very reasonable price. And so Kitty was very happy that she got a good bargain, as well as a very nice, good piano, and from a good lady. So that piano was brought, and she used to give lessons to, more advanced lessons to Mara. And Mara used to play very well. That piano, I remember, was also here in Merazad. before the extension was built, that small cottage when Norina and Elizabeth would live down in the smaller cottage where now Verano and the others were, in Arnavaz's room, that was where Norina used to be. So, yeah, so the piano was there where that cupboard is in Arnavaz's room. And of course, I, being a mimic, I could catch, I had never learned piano, but I could go by ear any tune. So after Mara had risen from the piano and Kitty had gone, I'd sit down, and I love those quick tunes. Like the clown comes on a thing and later on does, you know, it was great fun, great fun.
You know what's interesting is that the entranceway to Dilruba, or Elizabeth's house, is flanked by 2 trees.
Huh?
And they're very difficult to get through with a large car. You can just barely get through. So
I'm so happy to
I
know.
always, every time I go through there, even now, I think,
Oh,
you know, I make sure I get this just right.
Oh,
This would be terrible to hit one of these trees.
What Elizabeth used to say is if you get by one, you've gotten by the other.
Well, there you are. That's Elizabeth's logic. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to love the way she'd call me Manny. She's the only one who called me like my father. And I remember we once went to Gorakhnath Hill. Do you see from here? So we'd gone with Baba, and Elizabeth was driving, and I remember very well, there was water up there, and Eris says, yes, it is so, sort of a lake. And we sat around, and Baba said, now call out your name. And I think it might come back. There was also another lake somewhere else, same thing. And so Baba says to Elizabeth, say something, Elizabeth, call out. And so Elizabeth, sweet, she says, Manny! I was so proud. She was so loving, so silently, never demonstrative. It is only someone like Elizabeth who would notice that somebody else needed something very badly, but we could not shop, we could not ask for, we could not have. So, for instance, we all carried our own plates and mugs and cups and plates, all of enamel, but good British enamel. And our spoon, and those who wanted fork, whatever it was, in our satchel. And this was our responsibility. So, and if we lost it, there you are. So, but whenever we got to some place, then we would put it in our corner. So Nadine's cup would also be on the window sill, ledge, on the window ledge. Her cup was there. And somehow, her cup got very much battered. So all the enamel had come out, much more than any of ours had come out. And yet she was drinking tea from it, and she was, but Elizabeth one day walked by. She's the only one who could go to the bazaar and could shop. She goes by, and she comes in with a new cup. She places it, replaces it, takes the old one away. Not a word was said. I happened to be in the room. I watched this, but later also nothing was said. That was Elizabeth. In every way, in everything.
Well,
That was
thought I'd
precious.
yeah, I know. I thought I'd give us an opportunity if anybody would like to share a memory about their time with Monty. This is a good time to do it. Just raise your hand.
That was a particularly excellent video.
Yeah, that's from the center's offering this month.
It is. I could hear Wendy, that was Wendy asking a question when talking about the 2 trees.
Is that right?
The entranceway to Del Ruben from the Briarcliff.
Well, there's a few pictures or photos in the video that I did of Monty, and I had just when I went to India, a great friend said to me, "Do you have a camera?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Well, get one and go up to every one of the mandali and ask if you can have your picture taken with them, and then get someone to take the photo." So fortunately for me, I have a bunch of photos of myself with all of the different mandali, and certainly with Mani. And her, I mean, she just was such a beauty, she just wanted to please. She had such a beautiful way about her. There's one photo of her with her finger on top of her head in a little ballet stance, and she just had that such sweetness. Now, also, she worked at the trust, so I'm sure there was that other side of her that was very much business, taking care of business because of us pilgrims that were trying to pour into the area. And they were concerned about blood sugar levels because there was some diabetes that ran through the family. And I was one of the early ones with a blood sugar checker, what they call a glucometer. So I was asked to check Mani's blood sugar and Mara's. So I remember going to the trust, to check Mani's blood sugar, which, again, just having that opportunity to be alone with her, and it's kind of an intimate thing to stick someone's finger and get blood. But anyway, I had that rare opportunity, and I'm grateful that I did. So I'm gonna see what Judy has to share. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, everyone. And how delightful to celebrate Bonnie. Nadja really had it right in what was said on the biography, that Bonnie had everything, every quality. And I just want to echo that, what you were saying about the delightful part, and so much was mentioned, and I'm just sort of echoing some of it, that she was really the best storyteller I've ever met in my life, and enacted the stories as well as told them. And it was mentioned that Baba loved having her read to him, because he felt like he was going to a play, and that's because Mani took on up to 10 different voices for characters in these books that she read to him, sometimes over and over, and they used to keep track of, she would keep track of which date she had read such and such a book, and then recycle, because they, often, they didn't have access to, brand new books all of the time. Although some of the Western women were kind of, their job was to send over to India the next, if the author was still writing the books, they would send over the latest edition, a new story or whatever. One small clarification from the biography that was given this morning, and that is that it was not Mani's idea to be mean to her mother. It was Baba who instructed her, out of his compassion for Shireen Mai, his own mother. He knew how difficult it was for her, that basically Baba had taken all of her children. Mani was the last one at home. And this was really hard for Shireen Mai. So letting go of Mani would be really, really difficult. So he instructed Mani to be mean to her on purpose, because it would make it easier for her. It would actually be helpful for her in the bigger picture. And then later, when Bahram, Baba's brother, married, he instructed Bahram to stay in Pune at Baba House and be there with Shireen Mai so that she would not be left alone, especially in her older years. So Baba kind of took care of everyone with that. And I think back for myself personally, Mani, it was mentioned in the biography that the bio this morning that Baba had, all of us in his pocket, that he could put, or that Mani had everyone in her pocket. She definitely had me. I delighted, the inner child in me delighted with, especially when I was a pilgrim. Before I became a resident, I would go over, if Mani wasn't in Mandalay Hall or on Mara's porch, then I knew that she was at her she had her office space in the smaller original bungalow there at Marathon, and she'd be playing with the children. And I would go over and she'd be on her haunches down at child level and delighting all of the kids. And my inner child would go over and just be delighted to even be watching. And I used to get down on my haunches, when I was a pilgrim with some of the kids as well. And then when I became a resident, rightly or wrongly, I felt like I stood back, but I still delight. So she was this perennial grandmother to so many, young children that came. And she was, she could play instruments and so forth. I think many of you know the story that she, when they lived up at Upper Marabad in the 30s, especially before the Western women came and joined them, men would have to come up to repair something. And Mara had a very strict order that she couldn't hear the sound of a man's voice, as well as, could never speak to him and so forth. But in order to drown out the voice, because sometimes the repair project took several hours, Mani would play her sitar to cover up the sound of the man's voice. And she sometimes would play it so long that her fingers became bloody in the process. But she did it because she was helping Mara uphold her, the order that Baba had given her. So there's all kinds of aspects of Mani. And there was definitely also, you mentioned her being chairman of the trust. And with that, she was CEO, of all times. She was so insightful. She was on top of everything. And boy, she made everybody toe the line. So there was this delightful, sweet part, but I feel fortunate to have what I call grown up in Baba. I've been with Baba for over 20 years before I became a resident at Marabad. But I feel like I grew up under Mani's chairmanship, and I feel lucky for it because we got some of a slight tinge of how Baba had sort of raised the Mandali during all of those years, with a strictness and an incredible love. Very much like the story that Mani often told, which Baba also told, of the potter in Pimplegown village who was making pots, and he would take this big paddle and hammer the clay from the outside but always that loving hand of compassion was on the inside of the pot to be that sustained it. And to me, that was very much Bonnie. Always the delight and compassion, but also the strictness when it was needed. And yeah, I could talk all day, but celebrate Bonnie. She was one of the best things that God ever made, in my opinion. What a marvelous creation. So, Jai Mer Baba.
Jay, Baba, Judy. Beautiful. Thank you for your sharing.
Judy, I have a question about the time that you were, there seemed to me that there were a couple of difficult, I'm sure there were more than a couple, difficult times with the, with the trust, one of which they had to evict the family that lived in Pumpkin House, or they had to take them to court, right? They wouldn't go. I don't know if you were there for that time, and I don't know if Monty was in charge at that time, but I remember it seemed like a difficulty for sure.
I wasn't directly or indirectly involved, so I don't think I can can give much information on that.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a hand up, and that's Rosalie. Can't see you, Rosalie, but we can hear you if you unmute. Hey, Baba.
The wonders of video. Okay, Baba. I would usually think, it shows the greatness of Baba's advent to have a spectacular, extraordinary sister like Mani. I mean, anyway, I had a couple of times to show how, she was joyful, but she was watching everything. And this one day, it so happened on my second pilgrimage, each day was feeling worse than the one before. And I remember when the plane took off from the US, it was Junie Day. And I thought, I'm flying into the fire. I did get to perform for Mara. That was my high point. I got a kiss even, But as each day continued, I was feeling worse and worse about myself. So much so that I almost couldn't get myself to go and sit on the porch with Mara, my favorite thing. So I thought, man, I'm in trouble. Well, one day, as I'm experiencing this, Kitty Davy's there. And everyone is invited on the porch except Rosalie. And it was a great contributor to my misery. They all left and I was beside myself. So I went limping to Baba's bedroom. And the person that had shut me out, the Western helper, I was so upset and mad. I felt like booting her into the bed. She was bending over Baba's bed, but I didn't. Baba's grace. Yeah, but I thought about it. Then I cried and cried, and then I skirted Mara's out because I didn't want anyone to see the shape I was in. I get on the funky bus. You had to enter from the back, and then you were caged in between you and the driver. And I have one of those cremation scarves on, very appropriately brown. And I have it over my head, not like Perda, but over my head. And at that time, they used to come out and see us off. So the time had come, and I'm still in my misery. And they're coming out to see us off, Eric and Mani. And Mani comes over. And she says, who is that shrouded there? Who is that shrouded? And she's like, undeniable, Monty. You're gonna not answer, Monty? So I turned to her and she went, oh, come on now, Rosalie. Giving that big watermelon smile. And then I was weeping nonstop. And it was such a beautiful moment because I felt like I was all alone in a giant hall of some sort where you could hear the echo, like, you know, whoa, am I crying? And she says to me, in the most perfect way, she says, but he loves you. What more do you want? And it didn't stop my crying, but I definitely, it was implanted in me. What more? And it was like, what more do I want? Anyway, there was that very gift of an incident. And one other where Monty said to me, I would not take my eyes off of Mara because I always felt these eyes needed to see that pure being whenever they got a chance. But Monty one day said to me, Rosalie, can't you look away from Mara? Can't you look away? And I thought, I'm not engaging with Monty about my relationship with Mara. So I didn't say anything. But I felt about it after that Monty was in fact showing me how strong my feeling was. I don't want to be interfered with as far as me and God. I don't want to be interfered with. Because as incredible as Monty was, there was still for me, I could feel a personality also with Erich, but never with Mara. I didn't feel that. I just felt that was Baba. She only wanted me to love Baba. So anyway, I'm glad I didn't react to this very day. And I was thinking of one other. Oh, this was precious because she knew how overreactive I was. So I was in the trust compound and she came up to me and she says, you're so reactive or too reactive to criticism. And also the quality of Monty's voice was, it was like penetrating, you know, it was one of the most penetrating and unique voices for me. That's what I felt. And she says, she held her hand out and she says, just take the heart when someone criticizes you. Just take the heart. Held her hand out and then she blew and blow the shaft away. So she gave me real gifts. Also, every time she spoke of the family or Baba, so honestly, so incredible, like my hands were not beautiful like Baba's and just different things, you know, and she just welcomed you into that holy family. She welcomed you. You were not excluded. Yeah. One time she told me because I did complain that someone was just too much that was a helper. And she says, Rosalie, you're like family. You're like a Parsi. She says, just don't pay attention to it. You're family. But you know, family's been tricky for me because I'm the black sheep of my birth family. Anyway, she also reminded me, her accent did not seem British, it seemed Irish. And plus being that extraordinary weaver of tales. And I would add to Judy's 10, she gets a 10 plus, because if there was another character, it was not mimicking anyone else, you know, just extraordinary sister, God's little sister, Jai Baba.
Yay, Baba, Rosalie, beautiful, such beautiful stories. I'm very grateful. Thank you. I've jotted down those quotes just because I need to have those close to me. Thank you for giving them to us today. Jai Baba.
Can I say Mani's Christmas poem since we're so near? I always love this. Christ, I think she said, Meher Baba is the soul giver. We are each given in the measure of our emptying. When the heart's begging bowl is scoured clean of all leftovers and wants, his sweet love fills it to the brim.
Oh, thank you. Beautiful. You have a way. Miss Judy. Yes, dear.
Oh, I shared this story of couple 2 or 3 years ago, I think, which is very short, but very captures so much of Mani from my perspective. And it took place in the fall of 95, I believe. And so Mani was holding court on Mara's porch, and Lorraine Brown had just arrived from Australia, and she came with a gift for Mani, which was a kite, a very lovely kite. And so in the morning time, she offered the kite. And then those were the years where you got to have all the pilgrims could stay and have lunch at Marazad. And then folks were gathering after lunch had finished back on Mara's porch. And it happened that Mani was there, and there were 7 of us women, no guys around. And Mani said, let's go fly the kite that Lorraine had just brought. And so we all went out following Mani into a field that was not planted at the moment, next to Marazad. And Mani was starting to, run along. Now, this is, if I'm right in my memory of time, the year before she passed. And she had a heart condition for a long time. But, it's like that, what's a heart condition? This is Mani, delightful sister of God. And she's going out and running out into the field to, what you have to do. I remember from my kiting childhood days to get the kite in the air. Actually, I did some in my adult years too. Get them in the air. And she's running behind, and out from the house has come Laurel McGreeny, who was one of her assistants at the time. And she had a platter that had, or a tray that had a glass of water and Mani's heart medication. And she's running after Mani, who's getting the kite into the air. Mani, wait, it's time for your heart medication. But Mani just keeps running and gets the kite in the air, and everyone is really happy with the victory. But to me, that was Mani. It's like she would give it her all, whatever she did, with delight and delighting others. And such mundane things as time for heart medication, save that for another life. She'd done that one enough times. But this time she was pure delight. So Jay Baba.
Jay Baba. It also just demonstrates to me the strength that Baba's women had from their love for him. Just oh,
Yes,
what a great story that is. I can just see it. I can just see her. Thank you so much, Judy.
you're
Such
quite
joy.
welcome. Yeah, I feel blessed that I got to be there for the for the occasion. Jay Baba.
Jay Baba. Michal, Jay Baba.
Okay, Baba. Yeah. So I'm listening to all these stories and seeing the beauty of this very special, sparkling, vivacious woman. Wow. And I must say that when both me and Money missed each other when I was there. You have some special relationships with some of the Mandali and you don't have with others. And I was very fortunate to have this very great connection with Mera, and was very unfortunate to have this very not successful relationship with Money. And so it was a feeling that went through while Money was in the body, and I was there quite a few times. So so I did have the ability to have contact, but it didn't work. So I'm talking because the contact with Money can be still had, and it can become even better and better. Because I personally feel that all of those Mandali are souls that have not died, and they're living forever, not not erased as beings, as individuals, but staying with all their beauty. That's how I feel with them. That's how I connect daily with them, and they're very meaningful in my life every day. Um, so especially I have this connection with Baba, of course, and with Bauti, and with Mera, and also with Money. And this connection has grown warmer and more meaningful with time. So I'm sharing this thing for people to know that whether they met Money or didn't meet Money, whether they had good connection or not good connection, this thing grows if you continue to respond to their living presence. Their living presence. I fully believe in their living presence as they are in their special individuality. And I feel Money. And I feel that our connection on both sides has become better and better with time, because now she could see me fully, where she couldn't then. She was very busy, and she was very swamped with people, and she was very, she had to take care of the trust. She had all this responsibility on her shoulders, and she had a great um, vocation when she was in the trust. I feel that when Baba said that she's going to be perfect master in the next incarnation, it was actually after he dropped his body that she became a perfect master, and she was perfect, and she was acting out and knowing so much and having so many things to deal with, and she was just precious. So I'm sorry. I'm always sorry and asking for forgiveness and understanding why we missed each other then. But I'm sure that she sees me now fully. So we have a wonderful relationship now. So I want to tell everyone that you don't even have to have met. You don't even have to have gone there. They are alive, like Jesus is alive for many people who believe in him. I mean, of course, Baba in previous life, but all saints that you have connection with, these huge souls. And in this way, I also have other relationships with people I didn't connect with at that time. but mainly with Bauchi. And Baba has wanted me to have this relationship with Bauchi and Mera and money. He sees the way I see it. Baba is showing me that Mera money are a unit. It's not only Mera. It's of course only Mera in her very unique way. It's of course money in her very unique way, but it's also Mera money, being the attachment of two women mandali in the adaj in the 12th number of close disciples. And we were talking in Merasti about womenhood and about the rights of women, and I was remembering that Baba's godhood was kissed by Babajan, who was a woman, and the first chairman of the trust from the Mandali, because there was a chairman before, and he was not behaving. He was not working in the trust as it should, and he was taken to court. Oh, he took the trust to court, and then Mani was appointed, and Mani was the first chairman. It wasn't Eruch, it wasn't Bauchi, it was Mani. It was a woman, like all the women in the West, like Margaret, like Kitty, like Elizabeth, like Delia. So Baba worked a lot for women, and one of the ways that he did that was through Mera and through Mani. So this is what I wanted to say, that I love Mani much more and have much more heartful relationship and joyful relationship, because she's so joyful now than when I could have been in direct contact with her in the body. But she is in direct contact for anyone who wants. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mani. Happy birthday.
Jay Baba. Beautiful, Michal. Thank you. Wonderful thoughts. Betty? Jay Baba.
Hey, Baba. You know,
Uh-oh. Betty, you're muted, honey. I don't know how I did it. I think I meant to mute myself when I muted you. I'm
all right.
sorry.
Okay. I hear these stories. I've heard Rosalie's story several times now. I have my own story, which I tell time and again, because I had that one time. I had that time with the mother. We all have in our stories, and they're kind of iconic by now. I could hear Rosalie's story again and again, you know, isn't it enough that he loves you? So it's just that thought that our and they don't get boring. They don't. They're just what we have. We had our little moment or moments, and how precious. Mani charmed my child. We came as a family. There was me, Dave, and 3 kids. So 3 of our 5, and so. She kind of related to us that way. She charmed the kids. Shireen, our youngest daughter, Shireen, was a little mummy. She called her little mummy. And but when it came time to go, this is the story that I tell again and again. When it time to go, we had a taxi pull out in the courtyard and outside of Mandali Hall. Everybody else was inside listening to the Erich and Mani talking. And so I just had this notion to go at the doorway and, you know, wave goodbye. And Mani just totally, you know, just what's the word, spontaneously, she turned around, she said, oh, she said, and so she got up. And I didn't mean, you know, to interrupt everything, but I did. You know, she got up. So of course everybody else got up, and they all came out of the Mandali Hall and waving goodbye. And it was a big, I have photos, and I have to find them. Anyway, I will. So there was this wonderful send off, just because she had the notion to stand up and say goodbye. I wasn't anticipating it. So I'll always treasure that moment. But yeah, she's she's one in a million. And to, you know, I think when she just inspired that joy in all of us. The joyful path is a perfect title for she inspired all of us to be joyful. So that's all. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Betty. Yeah, we could listen to the stories over and over. You're right. They're always new. As long as they're, you know, coming from that openness and love of Baba, they just bring something. It's bringing light to every day for me, and I know for everyone else. Well, what I think I'll do is maybe show one more story on that video, and then everyone can continue on their own. So we'll just hear a little more of Mani's voice and her storytelling. Jai Baba.
But when Elizabeth and Norina, Baba would call them twins, and would somebody else like to talk? Yeah. So there had to be a fancy dress entertainment. I mean, you know, put on fancy dress and then we'd all have to come before Baba, a little relaxation. And also, it was a lot of fun, and Baba knew that. So in spite of all our duties, we would take time out and prepare for things. So Norina, she had brought some of the things from when she came, her own things, and her lifestyle was totally different from others. So she had this beautiful, beautiful black dress, a beautiful silk, and it was so elegant and it was so simple. But when she wore it, she certainly was the princess. And she had this hat with this lovely black feathers, you know, of that time. But of course, it was all put by. That was now of no importance, of nothing, but it was there. It was just stuffed in the bags, like we all stuffed our things. But the fancy dress, sure. So she was wearing that. So she was trying to make those feathers look lively again. But Elizabeth was doing nothing, apparently, nothing. And after a while, that disturbed Norina very much. And she would say, Elizabeth, this is for Baba. You know that. What are you going to be? It's all right, Norina dear. Yes, I know. Yes, all right. Everything will be all right. Come on, Kippy, take a run now. Come on, Kippy. She would take her little doggy for a run, and she would be very calm, very composed. And Norina was getting more Italian as the days went by, and she was saying, at last she came to me. She said, you've got to say something. That Elizabeth, you know, she had done nothing, and tomorrow is the fancy dress, and it's for Papa. And I said, well, of course, Norina. I mean, how was I going to go and tell Elizabeth? That same morning, now, but she didn't sleep all night. Who? Norina. Didn't sleep all night. I mean, this was, but Elizabeth was her usual sweet, composed self. And then that's the morning of the fancy dress show. She took a sheet and she put a plate on it, and she drew a pencil ring round it, and she took, I think, nail scissors or something, and she cut that hole. She took a pillow and she put 2 cups on it, and she put that sheet around her neck, and she put the pillow so it would be for eyes, and she became Casper. She just about stole the show, and that completely unnerved Norina. Why didn't you tell me, Elizabeth? Why didn't? And she said, but I did, Norina dear. I told you it was all right. And Norina, as I always say, Norina's love was she could charm a stone for Baba. I mean, there was nothing that she wouldn't do for Baba. She once even said when Baba's work was a sin, she said, Baba, if you like, I can marry the Nizam, and then all the money would be there for all the work, for your work, And Baba says, I don't want it from him. I only want you to do what you're doing. What's that got to do with me? No connection of mine. Yeah. And Kitty, of course, in her practical way. Like, for instance, even when we were going on a blue bus tour, the last thing in the morning, Elizabeth would, the last thing before we left, there would be Kitty with that life-saving cup of tea. It's only Kitty would think. We would hear a lot of rattling in the kitchen because she was also packing things at the same time, but still there would be, and especially for Elizabeth. And so one thing that Elizabeth could not cope with was getting up at unearthly hours in the morning, which was Baba's way as long as Elizabeth was with us. And so when we had to travel so early in the morning and Rano had to pack the bus, and so all the beddings would be in the hall wherever we were in the dark bungalows, tied with, in gunny sacks, tied with rough strings, lying about. And people were hustling and bustling and doing their thing, and Rana was having the luggage taken out, and Kitty was trying to get the last-minute vessels into the baskets and handing around cups of tea where necessary. And Baba would come in. Baba would come in from the entrance, this side, and stride past, out the other door, But even if you did not see Baba coming in, you knew Baba was coming in. It was like a ray of sun had suddenly streaked into a dark room. You couldn't help but look around and say, oh, Baba's come. And Baba used to carry his alphabet board under his arm, usually, and swiftly coming in and just going by. In one glance, everything was taken in. And he saw that morning that Elizabeth was sitting on one of the beddings, tied up beddings, with a rough cord and everything, the gunny sack. There was Elizabeth, looking like a little waif, and she had this cup of tea in her hand, and she was crying, and the tears were dripping into the teacup. And she was crying simply from the helplessness, because she would become non-compos if she got up so early in the morning. She couldn't concentrate anything, and she knew the responsibility she had of driving the blue bus, which means she was, Baba's precious person, and she had to be responsible and for safe driving of Baba and the others, and she couldn't concentrate. So here was this cup of tea she was having, and these helpless tears were dropping into the teacup, which I now saw because I saw Baba coming in. I was so busy and involved with myself, I hadn't seen her. But I saw, oh, Baba's coming in. And then I saw Baba stop at Elizabeth's side. And I looked, and that's when I saw this. And Baba, giving a smile, said, Elizabeth, hey, what's that? What? What's this? That's the way he would do. And Elizabeth says, I'm not crying, Baba dear. I'm not crying, Baba dear. And drip, 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 drip. And Baba stands there, and she's sitting, and Baba holds her head to him. So Elizabeth's head is resting on Baba's chest. And Baba holds her for a while, and she's still got that teacup. I think I took it at the time, but and then Baba says on the alphabet board, which I was reading out, and she said, don't worry, Elizabeth. Those whom I love, I take everything from them. And then he makes a light vein of it. And then in return, I give them getting up early in the morning, blood pressure, diabetes, call it a whole long list of I've forgotten what they were. And Elizabeth laughed, and Baba laughed, and that helped so much. And then, of course, then there's another story which Erich has, how Baba said there must be coffee. Coffee must be prepared for Elizabeth every morning before we. That's another story.
Okay, if anybody wants to jot it down, that's at 30 minutes. If you want to watch the rest of that video with our beloved Mani. All right. How about if we have a moment of silence together? Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Okay, now can we watch it?
Thank you, Ruthie.
Yeah.
Then-
You're welcome, Judy.
That was my thought. Why not just let it run? Then we could see it twice or have it available.
Right. So charming. Yeah.
All right. Well, I can do that. I can put it on. If anybody would like to
Leave.
stop, yeah, to get off now, this is fine. But I'll continue the video.
How much longer is it?
I think it's another 30 minutes. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I thought it might be good for
Yeah.
others to do it on their own. But it's up to you guys if you want me to put it on.
Well, let's see it. Let's see it.
Rose.
All right, darling. Here we go. Jai Baba. Everybody,
Jai Baba.
mute your
The stories never get old, no
Yeah.
matter how often you've watched it.
Then we can access it here as well as the original.
All right, here we go. Jai Baba.
It's not on. Oh, okay.
Yes. Nuria should be saying something. She comes from.
Money, we were at the Elora Caves yesterday, and I wanted to ask you what it was like when Baba was there.
Well, that's interesting you should say that, because the only, Baba hasn't given us what people call experiences or any of these things, just with the blinkers on, just follow him. So just as long as we can see him and do what he wants. So, but there I can say I had what you might call an experience, which I'd forgotten all about it because we never gave importance to it. But after Baba dropped his body, somebody came, one of the Baba lovers asked me, did Baba say anything about Lord Buddha, about his Adventist Buddha? Did Baba say anything about Buddha? And I said, no, I'm sorry, you can ask Erach, maybe he said to the man, I don't. Oh. And then suddenly I recalled this experience of our being with Baba in during our visit to Ellora Caves, in that main cave, the Buddha's cave as it is known. And you know how it is? When we were about 30 of us, it was during the Blue Bus tour, or it was soon after or before, so there were a lot of us women. And we were walking along with Baba on this sightseeing and seeing the caves and watch. And when somebody says, oh, look, no matter where we are, when you turn around and look, you see another of us, you see another face, another head. You don't see the object that they're trying to show because we are so many. So I remember very well, Elizabeth was by his side, and we were all there, and I was at this side, and Baba had his board under his arm, as usual, read his timing, and Baba stopped in the middle of that cave, and he pulled out this board, and he pointed out to the letters, which I read aloud, so it was my voice. I said, I am Buddha. And when he said that, when I spoke for him, when the words were said, his words were said, I am Buddha, the whole cave seemed to be empty. There was nobody there. And these words just went, reverberated. I am Buddha. I am Buddha. I am Buddha. And volume, over and over, swirling round that cave till every bit of stone, every part of the ceiling and construction was embraced in it. I am Buddha. I am Buddha. Stillness, nothing visible. Right after that, we were again 30 of us. We were walking by, and Baba taken the board from me, put it under his arm, and walked on. And I said, well, Baba has said everything that can be said about the Buddha. He said, I am Buddha. But it was very, very, very lovely. I mean, we used to love being there. You see, Caitlin, there's also the presence, even of before, the time of Buddha, maybe the time of Ram, even in Happy Valley when you go here. These places get saturated with the presence of God as men, with the presence of the perfect ones, with the presence of the avatar. And so it soaks in. And that is why when you go there, and even when it's not with you, it's still there. You know, it's reflected. It's always there. And the presence is never lost. Not the real presence is always there. So when you go to what you feel even now, if you like being there, it is the presence of the old times. And that is why in Meherazad, and of course in Mehrabad, but in Meherazad where he was most for the number of years, his physical presence, he was with us most here because it was after the accident when he didn't travel in 1956 for the 10 years. For the last 10 years, he was very much here, except to go for 3 months to Pune during summer. He was here all the time, or visits to Mehrabad, or a visit for a couple of days somewhere. So saturated with his presence. And therefore, when they say India is spiritual, you don't even have to, count all the spiritual acts and things. There may be many things that don't sound, but whatever it is, however people may have strayed from that voice, from the truth, or whatever it is, it's there because the presence is held, saturated with it. Even Maharashtra has had so many perfect masters. It's amazing. And so that is what matters, not even what we say. Of course, except that we speak of him, but it's just that present there. Why were you asking that, Kathleen? Did you go to Ellora?
Yesterday, yes.
Uh-huh.
And I was particularly moved by the Buddha.
Yes, Baba's walked through it. And it's not once, we have visited a number of times. And is the elephant in the beginnings? Yeah, the whole thing has been carved down from one stone, from upstairs to down, from up to down. Yeah. But isn't there a memory, at least when we go, it's like, oh, we've been here before, hello, long time ago, some echoes, memories that come. I'm sure so, yeah. So they give value and importance. Their presence makes it real, makes even an illusory thing alive because of the presence of the real that's been put in it. And that is why when we were with Baba, even little silly things were lovely, had life, sparkled, because of Baba. Now, I'm determined not to say another word. Oh dear, I'm either always losing my glasses or my eyeglass case. Which is it? They don't go together, you know. Sometimes you find this and then you lose this. It's nice to be silent and hear the ticking of that clock, because this clock is ticked for Baba. Yes, it's one of the mandalay, one of the inanimate mandalay. There are also the four-legged mandalay. The pets Baba had certainly could be called that. I mean, Mastan, Mera's dog, the one that Baba gave in charge of Mera, it was number one in Baba's love. And then came Peter, the Cocker Spaniel. And, I mean, they'd lived with Baba 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, just like the Mandalay, you know, not going out anywhere. None of them ever had puppies. And, well, I mean, you know, they just live the celibate life here. And Baba said, and not only have that, they the privilege of being with Baba, the incredible good fortune of being with Baba, but look at his silent giving as a reward for that, for something they've already received, is that Baba said they will come as human beings because being with me all these years and receiving my presence, my contact. And not only that, they won't start from the primitive. They won't be, you know, they'll even be spiritually inclined. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the breadth and the width and the depth of his giving? When a grace like that, and he so casually says it, so silently, they will. And yet, you know, each life means so much pain, so much. It's not easy, and then you skip so many lives because you have had the good fortune to have him as well, to be in his presence, to be with him, to live with him.
And Mansari was telling us yesterday how you were attached to Peter or something, and Baba said that when he came back he would recognize him.
About Peter?
Yeah.
Well, I never did. Well, that's my fault, you see.
Well, no, she said you did recognize. It was the last dog.
Yes,
the big one.
yeah.
And he used to.
Yeah.
He went under
Well, I'm
the
not
chair
so
or
sure.
something. She said he went under the chair. The child went under the chair. I think it was a girl, and that's what Peter
Yes,
used to do.
yeah. There are a lot of things that would like Peter would do,
Yeah.
but I still wanted, you know, I don't like blessings in disguise so much anymore. I want them straight and clear, you know. I want to meet a blessing, a common or garden blessing, shake his hand and say, hello, blessing, I'm so glad you've come, I'm glad to meet you. All the time this blessing in disguises and disguises. I tell Baba, please let me. So it may have been, we all guessed, but I'm not so sure. But this beautiful, who brought it? Huh? Falu did that from Marazat Garden. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, I'm glad Mara has seen that. Mara has seen the rose garden. Mara has seen the flourishing garden. It was flourishing even before, but I mean, since the latter years, it's just because when it started, the labor that Mara has put in, the thought, the consideration, the care, the love that's been put in this garden that you see now is incredible. Because the soil has always been poor, never enough rainfall, and so much wind, so that even the little water that is there is evaporated by the wind and the sun and all. So once she said to Baba, we were at the dining table, and no, excuse me. So to continue, each tree that you see, first of all, we'd had to make deep, big trenches and fill it with better soil, and then plant, and then it comes, but there's never been enough water now. And Baba Mera had been combing Baba's hair at the dining table after breakfast, and Baba was saying how nice the garden was. He was looking out. Yes, but Baba, she said, but you know how difficult it is. I mean, it's like bringing up a child, each tree, and how it has been so hard. And Baba said, but doesn't that make it all the lovelier? If it's easy, then it's cheap. But you know, when a thing is achieved after so much difficulty, it makes it richer. Or two words to that effect. I'm not quoting every word. You know, his gestures were saying that. So, and then Mera said, yes, but Baba, you had the whole world to choose from. So why then do you go and choose Ahmednagar of all places to live in? Because, you know, we used to call Ahmednagar DDD, drab, dry, dusty. So why Ahmednagar? Why choose? You've got, the whole world is yours. So why do you want to go and select Ahmednagar? And Baba looked positively guilty. He's crushed his ear and said, yeah, I made the same mistake as Jesus. And I made the same mistake as Muhammad. And now I've done it again. And Mara, the child, she's so childlike, innocence of her heart would come through so clearly at times like that. She's looking like this at Baba. And next time? Baba said, next time? Bring out your hand. He promises her, next time. Just as, what would Mara like? Green. So that even if you're walking and you drop a seed by mistake, it should grow into a beautiful tree. Everything should be green and flowers and lush. And so next time it'll be. And Mara's looking so pleased, you know, with Baba saying that. She's so happy. And Baba leaves to come to be with the men in the Mandali hall. And Mara turns to me and she said, and how will we know? I said, that's another question. That's not my story. How will we know? You can't catch him out then. But you know, Amrit's father, Kumar, had told me once that this sort of thing has also been given in the older scriptures. I don't know the particular name to mention it by, but in the old writings, or Hindu writings, where a lover complains, like Mara complained to Baba, kahi kahi Brajraj ji, kiyo gati ye bhool. Sometimes, oh Lord, you also make a mistake. काबुल में मेवा दियो और गोकुल में बबूल. Now Kabul is in the north, where Quetta and all is, where fruits are plentiful, bountiful, everything flourishes, the vegetables are big, the fruits are big, the trees, you know, everything. And Gokul, where he was born or grew up, where Krishna, Lord Krishna was, his place, his hometown. There are a lot of babul. This is thorny trees, you know, dry, drab, thorny trees. We have them here too. What are babul called? Somebody knows English? Acacia, yeah. So he says to the Lord that in Kabul, this faraway place, foreign place, nothing to do with us, you give big fruit, meva. And in Gokul, you give thorns. So he said, but mommy, it was also, the complaint wasn't those old days. But then I said, there was no Mera, he promised then, he has now promised her. Did I say I will not say another word? Yes. I remember that. I just remembered it. Well, one word I'll say, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Ruthie, can you post the link to the video?
I could, I don't know if I can, it's on the center website.
Oh, well, that's right. Never mind. Okay.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for
So special. My God, it's like a visit with mommy. Wow, that was great.
Jai Baba, everyone.
Thanks, Ruthie.
Thank you, Ruthie.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Ruthie and Betty.